I was thinking the other day, why not just share my number one dividend ETF in the United States and my number one dividend ETF in Canada? Let's get started. So my number one ETF for dividends in the United States is the one and only SCHD. The total expense ratio right now is really small. Like it's little to nothing, guys, and it's 0.060%. That's pretty much nothing. And the fund's objective, of course, is to track the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index, which is pretty great. The yield, if we scroll down on their website, is currently about 3.49%. So that's something I typically pay attention to whenever I'm looking at a fund. And 3.49% is pretty good. It pays quarterly, and we can look at some of its holdings. So if you go on top holdings, you'll see AVGO as the ticker symbol for Broadcom Inc. That's 5.03%. We have ABBV 4.69%, and you can always just look through this list, see if you like what's in there. If you don't, you can always ignore this ETF. Its sector breakdown is pretty equally distributed, I would say. Not except when you're going further down here. As you can see, consumer index is just 8.18%, and they can pretty much restructure this quarterly if they desire. If they're not tracking, if they decide, hey, we're not going to track an index anymore. And it's all in stocks, pretty much 99.98%. I would say that's everything pretty much. And let's see what they have been paying. 0.74 cents. That's not bad. And before that it was 0.65, so on and so forth. So you can always take a look at that. But one of the most important things I like to focus on is, are they growing their dividends? And I've found that it's much easier to go and say a Seeking Alpha and type in the ticker here, go to dividends and dividend growth, and you can see that over the years, for the past 10 years, they have been literally growing their dividends nicely, right? So it moved from 1.05 cents and all the way right now to 2.66 dollars. So $1.05 and then to $2.66 I think I said cents earlier, but yeah, it's pretty good, guys. And finally, I also like to pay attention to my principal. Is it depreciating or appreciating over time? So this is an excellent combination. So my initial principal would have grown in the last 10 years to pretty much double, actually, because this is over 100%, right? Plus the dividends are actually growing. So this is just really, really nice for picking up dividends that they're growing each year, and your principal is also appreciating. My number one pick for dividends in Canada right now is ZLB, and it is pretty much an ETF that has been designed to provide exposure to a low beta weighted portfolio of Canadian stocks. Since these stocks do not, they are pretty much handpicked, so the expense ratio is naturally a bit higher, and its annual distribution is 2.64%, right? Similar to SCHD, it pays quarterly, and you can always look at what it's paying right now. So if you go down to distributions and you go to 2023, you see that it's been paying 0.28 cents per share, which is not bad, right? And we can also look at its top holdings. It has a total of 50 holdings, which is not bad. And you can look at these stocks individually. So 4.1% in Loblaw, and Metro. These are really large consumer stocks here in Canada. And then we have Hydro, which is a utility company, really good company. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If so happen to be going through this list and you don't like these, you can always ignore this one, stick to SCHD, or if you like this one over SCHD, you can choose either one, whichever. Or there are so many others out there. Yeah, so the next thing that I typically like to look at is it growing its dividends? So I found it's better to just look at seeking alpha and type in the ticker here, dividend, go to dividends, dividend growth, and you see, similar to SCHD, it's growing its dividends over time. So here for the entire year it had paid 0.53 cents, and now we're at 1.12 dollars pretty much for the entire year. So that's pretty good. When you look at the performance, it's not as great as SCHD, but your initial principal would have pretty much doubled for the last 10 years, which is really good, guys. So you're pretty much winning by your principal being appreciated and your dividends growing as well, which is amazing, guys. Let me hear your thoughts on what's your favorite ETF for dividends, whether it's in Canada or the US. See you in the next one.